Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, what's the court's position?
Thank you, Mr. Malone. This, as you've probably gathered, this is a claim that was litigated all the way through in 2022. And that's kind of the fundamental problem here. Is this wasn't an upper or lower back thing. It was kind of a credibility case all along. And Mr. Bearden filed the first report of injury on April 18th of 2022. And he just kind of talked, he said mid-upper back, so it was a little bit unclear as to what exactly he was contending. But he was represented by counsel throughout the whole process. This is not, I don't want you to think that this was something where this was a low back claim all along and the thoracic was never mentioned, because that's simply not accurate. To look through the medical records. So Mr. Bearden has claimed all along he hurt himself on October 25th of 2021. I don't know what this December 7th medical that he's talking about is. The first medical that's ever been in the claim file is medical from the VA hospital. That was about March 1st of 2022. At that point, they just talked about chronic pain in his back, and there was no mention whatsoever of any work-related incident that happened. That's kind of important because Mr. Bearden was in the Navy for a couple years. He injured his back lifting a desk. That paperwork is in the file. He's receiving about $3,300 a month for a VA 100% disability benefit. And that April 11th, 2022 was the paperwork for that. They said he had a use of 40%, and if you add up all the numbers that are attributable to the back, low back, upper back, in one fashion or another, it's 120% of 170% is all related to the back. The other 50% is related to other things. But the point is, that is consistent with what the VA records reveal, which is this is a chronic, long-standing problem that he had. So we went to the first hearing up in Lima, and at that point, he had submitted what he claimed were a couple of notarized statements from coworkers. When the company had followed up with the two coworkers, they essentially said Mr. Bearden came to them and said he needed support for his VA disability claim. They signed statements that were not in the presence of a notary. He knew someone who would notarize them later. So you can see then we had an order from Mr. Venicotter, who was the district hearing officer up in Lima. He denied the claim really based upon credibility grounds, the delay in treatment, the credibility issues, and the fact that Mr. Bearden says he got hurt October 25th of 2021. He worked full duty until he was terminated late January of 2022. So after he was terminated, he then basically filed everything he could think of against the company: unemployment, workers' comp, EEOC, veterans discrimination. So they've been dealing with essentially a lot of what I kind of consider
got legitimate claims.
Retaliatory litigation by Mr. Bearden, who's just trying to throw things up against the wall.
Good, man.
So at the time at that first hearing, he put on the C-84 that he hadn't worked anywhere else. The company confirmed he was actually had worked at a towing company
For a couple
point in time, which was not disclosed. So Mr. Venicotter denied the claim. It then got set for hearing before a staff hearing officer again. Mr. Bearden was represented by counsel throughout this process. Just prior to the staff hearing, I checked online to see if there's anything new filed, and sure enough, there was a very specific statement from somebody who had never been mentioned before. His name is Sean Biddle, and Biddle said, "I was there on October 25th, 2021. I was on fire watch duty. I could see Mr. Bearden the entire day, had a good view of him, and I saw him fall to his knees after carrying these buckets of bolts. So at that point in time, that was like the Friday before the Monday hearing, I requested a continuance of that hearing, and that continuance was granted based upon that new evidence that was filed. We then did our due diligence and pulled the records, and it actually turned out that on October 25th, 2021, you can see from the claimant's first report of injury, he said very specifically injured himself on that date at 3:16 p.m. So he statement from Biddle, which was also very specific, and it actually turned out that the job was rained out at noontime that day. So nobody was on the job site at 3:16, and more importantly, Biddle was not even at work on the day that he said he witnessed this thing. Records were filed. Mr. Bearden had been terminated. Mr. Biddle had been terminated. So this evidence was all coming from people who kind of have a grudge against M&W. The claim gets denied again by Mr. Beery. And again, he gives multiple reasons. He says that the date of injury, actually, as it turned out, the afternoon was a rainout. Statement from Biddle, which was also very specific, and it actually turned out that the job was rained out at noontime that day. So nobody was on the job site at 3:16, and more importantly, Biddle was not even at work on the day that he said he witnessed this thing. Records were filed. Mr. Bearden had been terminated. Mr. Biddle had been terminated. So this evidence is all coming from people who kind of have a grudge against M&W. The claim gets denied again by Mr. Beery. And again, he gives multiple reasons. He says that the date of injury, actually, as it turned out, the afternoon was a rainout. Sean Biddle didn't even work on the 25th of October 2021. And that there was no treatment until he was seen at the VA in March of 2022, where there was just an indication of recurrent back pain without any indication that this was a work-related problem. So Mr. Beery denied the claim again on October 25th. Claimant's counsel at that point in time, Hockman and Plunkett, they filed a request for a third hearing. That was refused on November 16th of 2022. And by that point, the thoracic MRI had been done. Basically, all the evidence essentially was there at that point in time. The refusal order was issued. That started the 60-day time period where if the claim were to be litigated further, it would need to be appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. That expired in January, roughly January 18th of 2023. No court appeal was ever filed.
Yeah.
And then that's where we kind of got started down this path where by that point in time, Hockman and Plunkett had removed themselves as counsel for Mr. Bearden. He then contacted the Bureau and attempted to file a new claim, which led to a lot of confusion. They initially indicated that he was alleging a new injury in January 2023, which of course didn't really make much sense.
PwC told me to do that.
Okay, I'm going to come.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He hadn't worked for M&W for over a year at that point in time. So we then came to hearing on that with Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Mansfield explained to him that what he was really trying to do was to relitigate his initial claim, and that the only direct way to do that potentially would be to file a request for continuing jurisdiction, and that was the request that I think ended up bringing us here today. But you still have all the issues here. There was no clear mistake of fact. There was no clear mistake of law. This was a credibility determination. And basically each time Mr. Bearden attempted to file evidence, once we actually looked into that evidence, it turned out to not be what he was basically trying to portray it as. So if you you look at the VA records on March 1st, 2022, they had done x-rays of both the lumbar and thoracic spine. I think that's part of the problem here is that Mr. Bearden has pain, I guess, up and down his spine. He also has pain in his feet. So it has been kind of confusing because he's been talking about the whole back basically at this point in time. You can see on May 10th of 2022, he was told at the VA hospital that he would have to complete a course of physical therapy for his back and his neck before they would consider doing MRIs. And you can see again on March 1st, 2022, his history is pain between the shoulder blades all the way down both legs, pain increasing. So that was in March 22, so that was before this was litigated.
What page is that?
So there's a couple of different batches. That one is a 78-page VA record. It's on page 6 of 78.
Let me see if I can find it.
Pardon me, I went to the VA.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up that record.
Like any independent contractor would,
Oh, sure.
Page 6 of 78.
Yeah,
or somebody thinks that they're an independent contractor, right? That was good. You're good.
Cricket.
Yeah, I don't even repeat that. I had that highlighted. So okay.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna come back.
Oh, I got it.
No, just give me no idea what you want to talk about, and I'll come back to you. Okay?
really, Mr. Malone, I think you're left with the MRIs, which the thoracic MRI was done on November the 10th of 2022. That really all it says is minimal bulging at T5-6 to T6-7 with no evidence of compression. And then there's an EMG that's done on January 12th of 2023, which is interpreted as showing a chronic radiculopathy at L5.
Where is that engine? Where's that?
MRI is in a Mercy Health record.
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that.
And then the EMG. It's January 12th, 23. It's from St. Rita's.
Okay. Just to that packet.
It's 3 pages.
Oh, January?
Page 2, it says there's electrophysiologic evidence suggested of a mild chronic left L5 radiculopathy.
What page is that in
It's page 2 of 3.
2 of 3.
But I don't know if that record, because there were a number of records from St. Rita's.
Tell me again. I'll just write it down. What does it say? I'll look for it. You say L45?
L5.
So kind of small things, though. A mild chronic L5 radiculopathy.
Pass that back to you. Okay, I just give it back. Okay. What else you got for me?
I think
That's it. Okay, I promised I'd come back to you.
Outstanding. You're good, Perry. You're good.
Good, Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, what?